CY once again. I hope you have enjoyed the unboxing of the Quick Meal Super Quick Espresso machine model, which is 0650. And I think I have got a steal here because the machine is in really a mint condition, even though it was manufactured in the 1970s. I have tested the machine and behind the camera, and the machine works like a new machine. So right now I'm going to show you the operations and how the machine, how well the machine can make coffee. So, and of course today this will be the main actor today and not the Quick Meal Rubino, but I will still be pairing up with this grinder, which is our RF64W, the weight dosing grinder down here. So I'll be using this grinder, right, to dose for the super quick espresso machine 0650. So stay tuned while we explore making espresso using this machine. First of all, let's turn on the machine to the heating mode for coffee and not for the steaming. So let me show you where the switch is and what are all the switch, what are the functions of all the switches on the left hand side of the machine. So let me bring you closer. Right, so I brought you closer to the switches and controls on the left hand side of the super quick espresso machine 0650. As you can see, there's a center dial here, and if you turn it clockwise one step, it will be starting the thermal block for the brewing of coffee for espresso making. And if you turn another notch to the further in a clockwise manner, it will activate the group head to start the pump to pump out water through the coffee. And of course, if you go anti-clockwise from the 12 o'clock position to probably the 11 or 10 o'clock position, then this will be actually starting the thermal block to prepare for steaming function. And if you further turn it probably to the 9 o'clock in the anti-clockwise manner, it will start to create the vapor, which is the steam for the steaming of milk. And if you can see, there's a control dial here which allows you to plus or minus the depends on whether you are using the steam function or using the water function, for hot water function for the dispensing of coffee. If you are at this position, then you'll be controlling the amount of water that is actually flowing through your puck, something like a flow control. And of course, if you turn your dial towards the anti-clockwise direction at the 9 o'clock position, you will be actually controlling the amount of steam that's coming out. So I will show you very soon how this machine actually works. So let's turn on this machine to the probably the 2 o'clock position. And the moment you turn it up this way, let me bring you closer, you'll see that this light will light up. So let me power off for you to see. So you can see this is powering off. One step to the 2 o'clock position, you will start the machine, and the machine has this very retro looking light that will light up and suggesting that the thermal block is being heated. And right now we just have to wait for a short while for the thermal block to reach a steady temperature, and then we will put some of water to a group head, and then we'll grind some coffee, and then we'll start to make espresso. And on top of that, you can see that the drip tray is actually very tiny. During the unboxing, I've shown you that the drip tray has a drip tray cover, of course, and if you remove the drip tray cover, there's actually a plastic water tray that contains the wastewater. And if you can see that this tray has actually no holes, right? This hole is actually sealed. It's actually it doesn't allow any water to flow through. But if you remove this and expose the bottom tray, which is the one in the painted orange color job, there's actually something like a drainage here, which allows you to drain the water through a plastic connector, like a U-shape, not U-shape, L-shape connector, and allows you to dispense your wastewater through a container. In which this case, I connect it to a sort of waste water bottle for me to contain all the wastewater. So in this way, I do not have to worry about, the drip tray overflowing. So right now I can just cover this back, and it still acts as a drip tray. as per normal. So I will not be using this plastic drip tray because the volume of this is really quite small. But if you're just making a cup of coffee, right, you can just leave it there so that probably the water doesn't get onto the paint job. So it may increase the longevity of the machine in the long run, maybe. Right, so you can see now the light is off, meaning that the thermal block is ready for brewing of coffee. So now let me show you. I'm going to turn the knob to the 3 o'clock position. Right, I can see there's quite a lot of water. And now I'll be controlling this down. Right, you can see. So this is actually a flow control, which allows me to control the amount of water that's flowing through. Right, so it is a pretty neat machine and with a very neat features over there, right? So even my quick meal, of course it has a pressure gauge, and with a flow control I can really close the valve off so that no water is coming out, or I can max out the flow and monitor the brew pressure. But of course I cannot see the brew pressure here because this is the 1970s technology, right? So if you look at the shower head, it's dispensing water pretty nicely. So let me just show you again. Right, so basically let's see how the espresso tastes immediately after this. And of course the water tank is right at the back. I can just flip this open and it exposes actually a glass container. Right, in my unboxing video I mentioned that there's a tiny hairline crack on the exterior of the glass. Luckily there's only a surface crack. The crack doesn't reach all the way into the glass tank, which means that this is still perfect for use. And it seems that the water has really drained to half. This is a pretty small reservoir, probably about 1 liter or maybe slightly less, but I think it's good for 2 cups of coffee per day. Right, and all the piping is already turning yellow, showing that this is definitely not a new machine. It is a vintage machine which served the time, right? Right, I've topped up the water to about 90% full. Right, so the top is pretty warm, and I can definitely put my cup on top. So this will definitely be warming my cup up. So let's leave it there, and while we take a look at my grinder. So of course this is the grinder we are using today. Right, it's the RF64W, which I've introduced in my channel before. So right now I'll be dosing about 18 grams. Let's see how it goes. So you can see it's 18 grams here. Okay, it's overfilling slightly, so you can see I'm getting about 18.1, 18 grams, so it's pretty precise in terms of a weight dosing grinder. So let me just try to push the coffee to the center so that the polyfilter can contain most of the coffee without any wastage. Alright, so you can see that's the amount of coffee, and let's put it over here. Of course the polyfilter is slightly different in terms of design. There's actually this flap here which prevent it from sitting properly on the my temping station, so I will have to leave it on the desk. Right, and you can see that even if I leave it on the desk, right, it is still pretty level. Right, of course it will not be level all the way. Let me just show you. Right, it is not exactly level. Right, so let me remove this. It has a slightly slanting surface, but this is considered pretty okay for a 1970 kind of a vintage item, right? So let me distribute the coffee, and of course my distributor, it doesn't work because this is designed for 58.4 58.5 mm. I think this basket is 58 mm exact. So let me just use my finger to cup the coffee around, right? And I will not be doing any WDT. I'm just going to gently knock this onto my silicone mat. Okay, see, even the basket doesn't sit securely because it doesn't have the metal spring that actually lock the filter basket in position. So right now, right, luckily I have this temper which is designed for 58 mm. So I'm just going to slowly rest it on top, gently push down, right, and that's it. Right, so it's pretty nice, and let's go for the extraction. Right, let's dispense some hot water. Right, so I can definitely play with some sort of a pre-infusion here by controlling the water to dispense at a smaller amount. Then I will ramp up the knob, which allows me to do a flow adjustment to increase the flow. Then I will close the flow back. And I'm just going to do this without any measuring instruments because this is first use of the machine. So let me lock up the portafilter. Right, the cup is nice and warm. You can see the coffee is coming out. I can increase the flow slightly. Okay, let's check the coffee. Right, it will not be a perfect shot because I have not really dialed in the grinder for this purpose. So you can see there's not much crema and it's very thin. So I'm just going to do a second shot and let's try again. So let's unlock the portafilter. Right, and there's a disadvantage of using older portafilter like the pre-millennium La Pavoni. Right, you can see that the filter basket is not locked onto your portafilter holder, and hence when you try to knock out the puck, the entire basket will actually drop out. So I'm just going to try, and it's pretty hot, so I'm just going to gently knock on the bar here. Right, you can see that the whole basket will drop in. So I'm just going to use my hand to sort of knock it this way. Luckily the outer edge is still pretty thin, so it's still cool to touch. So you can see the whole puck knock out nicely. There's not much of coffee left on the basket. So let me just put it back and then give myself a wipe on the hand, flush this, and I'll try for the second shot. Alright, let's try to rinse the portafilter. So the machine is lighter, so you probably need two hands. One hand to hold onto the machine as you lock your portafilter. Right, so let's just rinse the portafilter. And I'm going to adjust the knob to increase the flow. Okay, it's pretty nice. And now let's unlock it. Okay, so I have to be more gentle on this. Okay, nothing to worry about. Still not used to the amount of strength I need to use to lock up the portafilter to the group head. So it gets a little bit messy. Right, but everything is under control. So make sure it's dry, everything is dry. And then we'll try again. So I think 18 grams is just nice for the dose. So let's dose another 18 grams. But this time let's try to adjust make the adjustment to be slightly finer. So to adjust this, I have to hold on to this, and then for adjustment to the final side, I will turn in the anti-clockwise direction. Right, and let's try to grind some coffee again. Right, because I tried to grind finer, so you can see that there's more clumps, but it's okay. So let me just use my finger to cup the coffee to the center. Right, and let's bring over for preparing the shots. Perhaps I have to design or print a WTT tools for this function, because my ring WTT simply doesn't really go deep enough because it doesn't sit, but it can still fluff up the ground. Right, just that you'll get a little bit more messy. Right, so let's cup it there so that it's evenly distributed. Right, the extraction will not be perfect because I didn't really prep my puck really well. Right, so that's the best I can do with one hand. So let's clean up the baskets on the outside. Right, so let's try to do a second extraction. Right, so I've already got the cup underneath, so let's try to heat that switch on. Increase the flow. You see that only one side of the spout has water coming out. Okay, I could have grinded too fine this time. Alright, so let's take a look at the coffee. This is definitely much better shot, but the extraction time is too long. So this can be slightly over extracted or quite extracted actually. But nonetheless, let's try to make a latte and out of this, because I want to show you the steaming of this machine. To steam the machine, of course, I have to switch the dial that I showed you just now to the other side, so that you'll heat up the thermal block so that it will prepare for the steaming temperature. And of course, we have to unlock this portafilter. Right, we'll knock out the puck later. Right, and let's do a flush of water. You can see that the steam is being produced. Right, the reason I'm doing this is because I do not want my steam to have any coffee residue that's stuck inside. So let me just wipe it clean. Right, and of course I'm going to insert this really smart device. Right, you can see how clean this is. Right, this is actually a cappuccino frother or the milk frother. So same thing, I'm going to lock up. Right, and let's get ready my milk pitcher with some milk. And we're going to see the pressure of this machine in a short while. The steaming pressure is very strong. Okay, but I think should be ready because you can see the light is off on the machine, right? So you can see this light is off, so which means the steam temperature is up. And now let's try to steam some milk with this machine, right? So let's first purge the steam. Nice and dry steam. The steam is not wet at all. So now let's get ready the milk. Ready. So as compared to some other machine that I've used before, this is actually pretty fast for steaming your milk. As usual, we'll just purge the steam. Right, so let's see the condition of the milk. Right, it's pretty good. So let's try to make a latte out of this. Okay, not too bad. Right, so it's very easy to form, and I can see that it has great potential with this machine, and the milk froth quality is actually pretty awesome, even though this is a 1970 machine. Right, it is much easier to work with the steam as compared to my La Pavoni. Right, the steam is more stable and much easier to manage, and it's a 3-tip steam hole, by the way. Right, so on the whole, I'm really pleased with this machine that I have purchased. You can definitely make a cup of coffee, a good cup of coffee. So let's just try to test the quality of this latte. Oh, it brings out the chocolatey even though it is over extracted, but I can definitely taste the chocolatey and nutty from this Yunnan Katimor beans that we have roasted. I think on the 15th of it's roasted pretty recently. It's on the 15th of June, even though it's a very fresh roast, but there's no bitter aftertaste at all. So it is even though the extraction looks to be on the higher side, whereby the flow of water through the part is a bit slow because I grind it a bit too fine, but then the coffee still tastes awesome. Cheers. Well, I'm seriously very impressed, right, with this 1970s super quick espresso machine, model 0650, and I'm definitely going to use it more often, right, and definitely it's not going to be a display piece, and I'm definitely going to make it functional and use it as and when I can to make more coffee, right? So cheers, and I hope you like my videos today on the use of the super quick espresso machine from Quick Mill, model 0650. Right, there are not many in the market, so if you are able to find one, do get it because it's a really good machine to play with. It's a great display piece on the counter, and it's a showcase of the technology that is in the 1970s, right? Can you imagine this thing in the 1970s and you're able to make a cup of coffee that even some of the machines I have installed may not be able to produce? So cheers, and this is Seah once again. Thank you for joining my channel today, and this video will be premiere I think 2 or 3 days later, so it will be show up in your video list if you have subscribed to my channels and like my videos, as well as you hit the bell button, so that you'll be notified with all our future release of videos. And remember, we have also launched our YouTube memberships, right? I'll have to thank you in advance, right, if you are going to join us and join my membership to support my channel, so that I can buy more of this machine like this, right, to share with everyone, right? So thank you once again. This is CY. I will see you in the next one, and stay safe.